How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having an awesome day so far. Wraith here with another Doom Eternal video, and I wanted to talk about how influential Doom Eternal has been so far and will be for future games. The game has been out for some time and has grown in popularity, especially for those who are new to the franchise and to first-person shooters. The Doom franchise itself has really influenced the gaming community throughout the years, but I have a strong feeling that Doom Eternal itself will change the mindset for developers working on future games. Before I get going, I always like to say thank you for the support on the channel. If you're new here and love games like Doom, then you are in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and set up notifications to stay up to date with the channel. Okay, let's get started. The Doom franchise has been around for many years and has greatly influenced the first-person shooter genre. After its initial release, there was the birth of Doom clones such as Heretic, Hexen, Blood, Shadow Warrior, and many more, all within the 90s. Those games used a lot of the same mechanics, the same kind of UI, weapons, and so on. If Doom never existed, first-person shooters might have never become popular or influenced the many modern games we know of today. Doom Eternal, on the other hand, has innovated many new and old mechanics found throughout other popular game titles. One such mechanic that has been around for a good amount of time is a grappling hook. We've seen this kind of mechanic in games like Apex Legends, Titanfall, Just Cause, and now some newer games like Halo Infinite and Shadow Warrior 3. The grapple mechanic works pretty much the same in those games as a way to maneuver around the world or be used as a utility function of some kind. Doom Eternal, on the other hand, allows the player to use the grapple or meat hook on the super shotgun to attach to demons to either draw you closer to them, to blast them into oblivion, or to propel you to a safe location. Who would have thought to put this mechanic on a gun instead of just another ability or device? It now changes the possibilities of future games. Why waste an inventory slot or a dedicated button on a controller to just use a grapple, when you could implement it into something that already exists in the game? Yes, the meat hook is used as a secondary function, but by having it a part of the super shotgun allows the player to have more options. Like I mentioned, do you get closer to a demon to blast them with Lucifer's Bane, or to use it to get you out of a sticky situation? I really think that this mindset of using the grapple mechanic can really open up so many ideas for future AAA games and even the next entry of Doom in the coming years. If anything, Doom Eternal just made the whole idea of having a grapple hook more popular, and I'm willing to bet that Halo Infinite and Shadow Warrior 3 were at least influenced by Doom Eternal at some point throughout their development cycle. If not, then I'm sure there will be another big game developer that will want to incorporate something like that into a new game. The grapple function almost reminds me of how zombie games became so popular, and after a while there would be a one-of-a-kind zombie game that stuck out among the rest. If Doom Eternal is the game that stuck out among the other games that have this function, then it would be a no-brainer to have something like that in a future game. I really enjoy using the meat hook. It changes up the gameplay in so many ways and makes Doom 2016 seem like a slow, yet still fun version of what a modern Doom game is. It also allows you to get into the fun zone, as you are able to stay in the air for a longer amount of time, and once you fully upgrade it, you can get armor back from killing a demon with the super shotgun. The meat hook is just many of the awesome mechanics found in Doom Eternal that has greatly improved the gameplay, and I really want to see this in other games along with Doom. Something that the recent Doom games have done perfectly was the ability to falter, stagger, and glory kill the denizens of hell. Faltering an enemy is basically when you make the demon flinch, or rather pause, in their animation, giving you a moment to take them out with a good combo or to get more control of this situation. Under the Mayo recently did a video explaining the whole mechanic in detail, and I highly recommend watching that video to fully understand it, especially for those who are newer to Doom Eternal. This mechanic works very well with Doom Eternal, as it gives the player the opportunity to have an edge in a fight and to know which strategies will work best against each demon. For instance, by shooting a grenade at a demon, it will make them falter as it explodes. However, if the demons such as a Baron or Hell Knight are in mid-animation for a ground slam, it won't work. So of course this is where the strategies come into place. Doom Eternal will make you think and will punish you for the slightest mistake, but in a good way. Once you have a better understanding of how each demon functions and what tool to use against them, then getting into the fun zone will be a lot easier as you progress. I think this kind of mechanic is something that future games could really take advantage of, and will also make their AI more believable. Of course, there are many other games out there that do have some sort of falter mechanic, but I think Doom Eternal really innovated it by making it a huge part of the gameplay. Staggering a demon can sometimes be confused with faltering, but it is when the demon is highlighted, allowing you to finish them off with a glory kill. After doing enough damage to a demon, you will either have the ability to finish them off with a fatality of some sort, which would replenish your health, or finish them off later to allow you to focus on other demons that might be a bigger threat. A situation where that would make sense could be where you have a cyber mancubus far away in the staggered state and have a tyrant closer to you. It might be a good idea to at least incapacitate the mancubus first in a stagger so you can focus more of your attention on the tyrant. Everyone has different strategies in this game, so you can look at each scenario differently. As far as I know, there really aren't many games out there that have this kind of mechanic except for Mortal Kombat, of course, and now Shadow Warrior 3.
It's hammer time!
Some of the Halo games allow you to assassinate an enemy, but definitely not as violent as Doom. I'm glad that Shadow Warrior 3 adopted that mechanic as it fits perfectly within the gameplay. The Shadow Warrior games have always been really violent and are basically Doom, but with more of a Japanese setting, with the exception of the protagonist Lo Wang speaking way more than Doom Guy. Another mechanic that Shadow Warrior 3 is using is the idea of destructible demons. This isn't a new mechanic by any means, as Doom 2016 had a toned down version of it, Shadow Warrior 2 had it, and the Dead Space games made it a huge focus as well as other games. However, Doom Eternal made the destructible demons a bigger part to play than many other games. Weak points on the demons could be blown away, which would also change how the demons would attack the player. If you shoot the 2-arm cannons off of the mancubus, his long-range attacks are weakened substantially. The turret above the Arachnotron acts as its primary weapon, and once it is destroyed, the demon will resort to using its plasma grenades or melee attacks. As far as what I've seen in a lot of different games that had destructible enemies, you could blow parts off of them, but they will still act and attack the same as before. Also in Doom Eternal, it is so satisfying to destroy a weak point on a demon and hear that ping sound. Not to mention, the amount of destruction displayed by the demon gives you a better idea on where their health is at. I'm not really a huge fan of having a health bar above normal enemies, as it just takes away the experience for me. Some people like that, but after a while you can really get used to knowing how much damage you've done based on how many chunks of flesh are blown away. Not having health bars also makes the experience more realistic as well. Other than Shadow Warrior 3 incorporating destructible demons into their gameplay, I'm sure other first-person shooters will adopt this mechanic and make it even better. Maybe in the next Doom game we can have demons crawling on the ground after their legs are blown away. What do you guys think about that? The story found within each game can usually be a good thing. There are many games that focus a lot on the story and plot of what is going on as a way to allow the player to discover the lore and have more interest in the game. The Doom games have never really had a huge focus on the story, but in recent Doom games, especially in Doom 2016 and Eternal, have a ton of lore found within the game but don't have everything revealed from point A to point B. Just by playing the game from start to finish, you'll get a good understanding of what is going on and who some people are, but if you really want to dig into it, then they have codex entries that you can find throughout the campaign. I enjoy this concept as it allows you to have a lot of options. If you just want to play the game to rip and tear demons, then by all means, you can do that and skip most of the cutscenes. If you want to rip and tear and find out who the Doomslayer really is, his origins, who the Night Sentinels are, etc., then you have that option to find the answers. Sometimes developers want you to endure through long cinematics, have way too much information all at once, and expect you to understand everything on your first playthrough. I think that's not a good approach, especially for first-person shooters. However, for role-playing games, that usually would work. The Halo games, for instance, actually do a good job at the story as you get the gist of what is happening, and if you want to dig more into it, there are terminals throughout most of the games to find more info about the Forerunners, books to read, and other source material to dig into the lore. I think a lot of future games can take note on how well Doom Eternal did with the lore and give players the option to learn more if they want to or not. Doom Eternal has mostly been a huge focus for my channel, and if it wasn't for the lore, I probably wouldn't have much content to work with. If this is your first video on my channel that you have watched, then be sure to check out my other videos talking about the lore for the Doom franchise. The last thing I wanted to talk about that would generate a huge influence for future games would be how well Doom Eternal is optimized. Of course, this may be more of a thing for PC gamers, but id Software has done a lot for consoles as well. The use of Vulkan has been around for a good amount of time, and a handful of developers have used it in their games. Other than Doom 2016 and Eternal, Rage 2, Wolfenstein The New Colossus, Wolfenstein Youngblood, and even Red Dead Redemption 2 all have the capabilities of using Vulkan. For those who don't know much about Vulkan, in the simplest definition, allows games to run very well and in the long run allow you to have a good amount of frames per second. All in all, who doesn't like having a game that runs well on mid-range hardware? I myself don't have an RTX 2080 Ti and probably won't anytime soon, but with what I have and the games that use Vulkan, I am more than satisfied. I would assume that most developers would love to use Vulkan in their games, but may have some limitations or other reasons from preventing them from using it. But with more games like Doom Eternal using Vulkan, more developers may jump on the bandwagon in the near future. The other great thing that id Software is constantly doing is patching and updating the game constantly, even after several months. Unfortunately, many good games that have been released in the past were released then somewhat forgotten and didn't get many updates to keep players around for many more months. Of course, DLCs help a lot, and with Doom Eternal we will be getting some of those. My point is that developers should look to id Software for inspiration and see how well Doom Eternal is doing after all this time. Yes, not that many people stuck around for battle mode, but once Invasion and the DLCs are available, Doom Eternal will be trending once again and have more life to it for many more months down the road. I'm really excited for the future of gaming and what the next gen console's full potential will look like after the next couple of years. PC gaming itself will usually have a bit of an edge over consoles, but with more games using Vulkan and ray tracing, we'll see what the future holds. Doom Eternal has raised the bar in technology of gaming, along with how developers may end up creating Doom Eternal clones in the future. We might be able to see history repeat itself with games using mechanics from Doom Eternal, using the same engine, or even creating near identical IPs. The future is bright, and I can't wait to see how Doom Eternal has influenced gaming. What do you all think? Do you think Doom Eternal will influence games in the near future, or will it just be another game that id Software produced and nothing more? Let me know down in the comment section and let's get the conversation going. I hope you all enjoyed this video and agree with some of the points that I've made. If you enjoyed what you saw here, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video so we can get it out there more. You can also check out my social media accounts at RipNtear Gaming to see other things over there. Stay safe, and until next time, fellow Slayers, don't forget to rip and tear. Peace.